Show with Irish Show with Irish Show. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. What are you doing? Don't do this to me, Harry! The Ohio State. It's Ohio State! What do you mean, the? It's a poison! I almost stroked out and died over it. I'm glad to be at the party. I'm mad we're this late. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship! That helps the defense without them even doing a damn thing! Doing a damn thing! The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Irish! Yeah, that's right. Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Irish! Yeah, that's right. That's right. Welcome in, welcome back, folks, to a Freaky Fact Friday edition of the Always Irish Morning Show. Happy to be here. Happy to have you all here. Interesting comments already. It's amazing to me how my role in this fan base has shifted so much in just a few short years. It's astounding. I used to be the negative Nancy guy, the glass half empty guy, and now I'm Johnny Sunshine. It's just amazing. It's just, I don't know how it happened. Well, I do know how it happened. We went from Kelly to Freeman, and I respect the way one guy works, and I don't the way the other guy was working. So maybe that's the answer. But it's absolutely amazing to me how much the perception of me has changed from the guy who has the yelly, negative Notre Dame show, and now I'm Johnny Sunshine. It's amazing. I never thought I'd see the day where the biggest accusation against me is that I'm giving Freeman a free ride and I'm a bootlicker and it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's absolutely amazing. We're going to get to some of these comments. Some of them have some validity. Some of them, I'm going to shoot them down, but that's what we're here for, folks. Thanks for being here on a Friday. I appreciate it. We got a couple phone calls waiting. I got a 309 up first. That's got to be Bloomington, Illinois, right? I know that 309. Straight down there to Illinois State. Go play some golf courses there, the ISU course, and we had the state championship. Where was it? Prairie Vista, I think, is where we played our state championship down there every year. Tough course. Really tough in the weather we played it in. Anyways, if you are here, please do hit subscribe. I appreciate it very much. Obviously, the program is on YouTube. Give the video a thumbs up. Sub if you haven't already. Put your notifications on. That way you're alerted every time a new episode drops. You don't want to miss it. Twitter, search bar Always Irish Rat. Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishindy@gmail.com. Audio only. Anywhere you want me, you can locate me. The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Fighting Irish Wire every day. We have new articles up about Notre Dame. Make it a part of your daily Notre Dame routine, okay? So we got a lot of things cooking. It doesn't matter if it's the summer break or what. There's always something cooking, both in Notre Dame land and in college football land, okay? A few things. First off, I say this every show in the summer, and I mean it. Even though I have certain things I'm hitting on in these shows, it's an open call-in line. Anything big picture, small picture, college football, Notre Dame. Like I'm just happy there's a lot of people that want to talk about all this stuff in what is usually the slow time. I want you to feel free to be able to call me with whatever you need to get off your chest. That's what we do here best. All right. So use that phone number and we'll talk it out. Good, bad, or indifferent. We'll talk it through. Okay. Couple other things. The Brady Quinn NIL thing that I put out yesterday got a lot of run for an off-season video. And I think it's just because NIL is such a big deal. I am very encouraged about the news. And I know Brady Quinn's group, Their collective has officially formed a partnership with Notre Dame's global, I don't know what you call it, global donating elite. Like, I don't know what you call it. All I know is it's a global database of all the rich Notre Dame people. And that's exactly what I want out of Notre Dame's NIL. Get in that circle. And here's the other thing. Let Brady do all this. Get Jack. Let Brady do some of this. Here's how I'm looking at this. I mean this. When I look at this, I know Jack has the power. I know Jack's the lawyer. I know Jack has 40 years of doing high-end, high-level, multi-million, billion-dollar deal. I know all that. I trust Brady more in this room to have a good, clear picture of what's going on in the modern era than I do Jack. I'm sorry. There's just something there that makes me feel a lot better thinking Brady Quinn is navigating some of this modern stuff on our behalf than Jack. You could call that ageism. You could say I'm not being fair to all of Jack's experience. Whatever you want to try and call it. I personally feel better knowing Brady Quinn, a younger guy, that still has a connection to the Notre Dame guys that are in the league, and he's closer to like my age range. Might even be my age. Like, give me that guy in the mix. It makes me feel good that Brady Quinn is this involved in reading the article. Brady Quinn is in these high-level discussions about all of this stuff at the top level at Notre Dame. I like that. It just, I feel like Brady has to be, just by age, more connected to the actual realities of what Notre Dame's facing in all this than whatever somebody writes up and hands to Jack telling them this is what's going on. So I get it that Jack has the ultimate power and all that. I would empower Brady Quinn to navigate as much of this as possible. I just trust him. I just feel like he's got a better handle on the modern part of this and what it really looks like better than Jack would have. So I like that. And I used to kind of roll my eyes at the Brady for AD thing, being like, is he in that circle or does he have those chops? How do you make it to that level? If he's already in there talking about all this stuff that's high level, big picture Notre Dame directional stuff, I like that. Maybe you go young and Brady Quinn gets us modern again faster than a 60-year-old who's been around the block would be. I don't know. But I would be interested to see what you guys think about that. But us connecting and building this global network of these powerful Notre Dame people all over the country and the world, that's exactly what Notre Dame's NIL angle always should have been from day one. And I'm not going to stop patting myself on the back saying the day after the courts ruled NIL was legal, I came in here and did a show and said, you need to build a global database of all these rich people that love Notre Dame and want to help. And it took us 3 summers, but it looks like we're finally getting there. 3 summers later, I said the next day, Notre Dame needs to call a meeting now with the biggest people and put this together. Took them 3 summers. Better late than never, I guess. Better late than never. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do the introduction, not the introduction, the roll call, and then 309, you're coming up first. It's been a while since you called. I want to make sure I get to you. You're coming up first, 309. Oh, boy. Brother Ray, and I got a feeling Brother Ray used to be somebody else a week ago, and now he's Brother Ray just by the messages. Here's a thought. Instead of Freeman taking pictures on vacation, why not try and do some recruiting? Freeman lost the DL because of the Chicago DL because of laziness. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Let's start the show there. No, he did not. If there, of all the things, man, it's just amazing. Sometimes I feel like people want me to have a stroke on the air and they think on their phone with this show going, what can I say to cause John to have a stroke on the air? I think I'm going to go with that. It could be anything else. It's like, let's pick the one thing. Maybe that's what the point of this is for some of these people, is pick something they know is going to get me going. You could have a bunch of Marcus Freeman complaints. You could be upset about last year, the 2 bad losses, all of that. You could, whatever, question that, his actual coaching chops. You wanted the defense to be better. He's a defensive guy. You want the defensive recruiting to be better. He's a defense. Like, we could argue a lot of things where I think there's some actual leeway there. Freeman's effort ain't one of them. Freeman's effort is not one of them. In fact, it's the number one thing that impresses me about Freeman is the effort. He's racking up more miles on the private jet out of the regional South Bend airport than Brian Kelly could ever dream of. I'm telling you, complain about Freeman with a lot of stuff. Effort ain't on the list. Effort is not on the damn list. Thank God. I say this all the time and it makes people laugh, but I'm dead serious. It makes me feel better when I lay my Irish head down on the pillow at night, that at least when I'm laying there thinking of going through the reel of Notre Dame worries in my head, I go through every night, that I know this guy's not afraid to work. He ain't afraid to work. I'm not saying it always works out. I'm not saying we get the result we want every time. But whatever it is or isn't, it isn't his fault for not working hard. I'll never go with that until I start getting messages I got about Kelly. I start getting messages from my people that know what's going on inside, and they're going, buddy, the guy's checked out. I don't know what to tell you. He's literally like not recruiting and not making the staff do it either. So we're just don't expect anything to change because we are like checked out here. I hear that from one guy. A couple months later, I hear it from my other guy. A couple months later, somebody else is telling me that. The next month, I yell about it on a show. I have people that work at Notre Dame that don't want to be revealed emailing me saying, yeah, you're on the right path. Keep pushing that angle. If you get hint, hint. Okay? All I hear about Freeman is go, 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 work, work, work. Always wants to be everywhere. That ain't the complaint to go with that guy. Matt Miller, what's going on? Yeah, that's right. Happy Friday, Irish Nation. Indeed. Indeed. Oh, boy. Brother Ray, Freeman refuses to work even while the bottom's falling out of recruiting. It's not. We'll be fine. The bottom's not falling out. It's going to be okay. I promise. It's going to be okay. I like Freeman too, but we have to be fair and hold him at least to the same standard as Kelly. He inherited much more. I mean, the hold him to the standard as Kelly. Kelly got away with not recruiting. Is that the standard? That was the standard with Kelly, is not working hard in recruiting and being allowed to do it many years. Is that the standard? Like, that was the standard with Kelly, and nobody really did anything about it, and Kelly left on his own. So as far as I'm concerned, that's Kelly's standard, is not working that hard in recruiting. And he inherited much more. I mean, yes and no. I have this debate all the time. 309, I got you. Don't hang up. I have this discussion all the time. Like, these are different subsets of circumstances. Obviously, everybody admits Kelly inherited a dumpster. Notre Dame was down and out, not just on the field, but infrastructure, all the facilities, behind the scenes, training table. Like, they were behind in everything when Kelly took over. And he did a good job of some hard work behind the scenes that nobody sees, that you don't get public credit for. Kelly did a really good job when he first took over, getting Notre Dame more modern. Still behind, but way more modern than we were. And I give Kelly credit for that. He did inherit a nightmare. So he built it up. He's also responsible for caving it all in on itself. Kelly tanked it all out by being loyal to BVG too long and all that. Kelly tanked himself out, rebuilt it. So yeah, it's a fact that Freeman inherited much more than Kelly did. The programs were at vastly different places. So that's obviously true. At the same time, I'm still arguing with people about just how flawed last year's roster was and how many black holes of no depth and no front line like ballers. You had all these different groups Like, I'm still finding people on that, having the realization of just how much work has been needed to be done when this roster flipped over into Freeman's care. And that's maybe a reason you're seeing over half the 21 class is gone. But there was a lot more work to rebuild this roster than anybody wanted. I knew there was a lot of work. There was more work than even I wanted there to be. And I was already on the side of saying this roster needs to be overhauled so much to get this where you want it to be. And nobody wants to hear this. But maybe in that moment, that transitory moment, maybe you got to feel like you're taking one step back to end up taking three forward. No one in Notre Dame land wants to hear what I just said last. No one in including me, nobody wants to hear it. But it crossed my mind. Maybe for Freeman to get this where he wants, it has to feel uncomfortable for us, and you question some things, and maybe you got to come down a peg like last year to build it back up. Nobody wanted that. We all hoped it would be the level Kelly at it, and then Freeman comes in and it instantly just goes up from there. Maybe that was naive of the whole fan base to think that, because there was a lot more to fix than anybody wanted to admit early on. I don't know. Freeman does not get a free pass by any standards. He does not. In fact, I do have an episode coming up probably early next week asking Freeman to do a couple things. And so maybe some of the people that think that I'm soft on Freeman will appreciate that episode, because I do go over a couple things that I need that guy to focus on and figure out a way to do a little better than where we're at. So stay tuned for that. Not trying to be, negative, but realistic about it with Freeman and some things he could get done. Says the guy that has 5 burner YouTube accounts ready so he can say whatever he wants, gets banned, and activates another burner. Listen, here you go. This is the point I wanted to get at. Paul Conley with the $5 howler. I really appreciate the donation. Goes right into the phone lines, folks, and the streaming software. So I'm not buying luxury Bugattis with it. That's for sure. Appreciate it, Paul. The trolls are annoying me. Get rid of them so I don't get discouraged with your show. This is a very tricky thing to navigate back and forth, because here's what I want. I want this to be an environment where the phone lines and the chat are open for people who disagree with me or have disagreements with Notre Dame or whatever. This would be boring for you and boring for me if everybody agreed with what I said. That's not what this is about. This is not a show where I just tell you what I think, and if you disagree, then you're out of here, and we can't have that back and forth. That is boring. There's nothing better than a philosophical or existential Notre Dame debate where everybody has the finish line in mind that's the same, getting us over the hump, but different routes to get there. That's the best intellectual conversation Notre Dame fans could have, is having the same goal in mind, genuinely, in good faith, having the same finish line in mind, and then debating the quickest path for us to get there. That's what excites me. That's what I want this show to be. Now, for that reason, I like having some trolling that bring up the negative stuff and magnify it, because it sparks some healthy conversation. And oftentimes there's a nugget of truth to it, even if it's being exaggerated, bigger in effect than I think it actually is. Sometimes there's a strand or a piece of that I could pull and use and kind of work with. So if it's within reason and not inappropriate or whatever, I like having some of that pushback because it's healthy. But I understand how nobody wants to log in. You're excited to see my show on a Friday, and it's negative, 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 negative. I get that as well. I do. C. Jones, Marcus Freeman plus Brady Quinn equals success. All I'm just saying, I get it that Jack has the levers and the buttons to pull. I get that. But if you're asking me, John, who do you think has a better pulse on NIL, what younger guys are looking for, and how this all works, Jack or Brady? It's Brady. So I want Brady with Jack in these discussions, Brady's obviously trusted on that inner circle of everything at Notre Dame that matters. I like that. Keep Brady involved. I trust him to have a pulse of where things need to go. Domer Guy 88, let's paint that house green on September 23rd. No more red takeovers. You should be glad I got you your show and I yelled about that. All right, phone calls coming up. Happy Friday, John. Mike. Hood Friday, John. No typo. I'm ready for some freaky facts. Let's hear them. Well, the one I wanted to go over, you're not going to like. So you want to talk about being negative. The freaky fact I got, you're not going to like. I'm going to get a couple calls and then we'll get into it, but you ain't going to like it. But it's very, very important. Domer Guy 88, there's no way Buckner starts at Bama. Somebody would have to transfer. I don't know. And then my question is, if you did all this, went to Bama, and the reason is you were mad you weren't playing at Notre Dame, and then you go to Alabama and you don't play at Alabama, then I ask, what's the strategic move here other than everybody's a human? Maybe it's as simple as, I'm not happy at Notre Dame. I'm super frustrated, and I just need to get out of here because the walls are caving in on me. If a guy like Buckner felt that way after all he's been through at Notre Dame, I totally understand that, whether he plays or not. It's just, if he made this move for him, I'd feel better if he was starting, because then at least the guy's playing and that's his goal. So does Brady still do the Fox thing? I believe he does, doesn't he? I don't think there's anything that precludes him for being in Notre Dame NIL and doing that TV deal, right? Bob Kelly, good morning, John. 148 days to USC. I like that countdown. I really do appreciate that countdown. And the other thing I want to be clear on this point too. I talk all the time about what a big deal USC is to me on an existential Notre Dame level, how important that all is. And for Marcus to balance that ledger of USC 1-1 and not go down 0-2, that's dangerous for any Notre Dame coach's tenure to do that. But I also am saying, I totally get people that tell me Ohio State this particular year may be a bigger deal. I'm not going to rip you for that opinion. I'm still going to lean USC because of what it means big picture. Anybody telling me, though, for this 1 year, Ohio State means more because of where it is in the schedule and what that will do directionally to the trajectory of the year and informing you of where this program's at in year 2. I'm not gonna fight you on that. Other news, some of the Ohio State people, they reached out to me. They want to do a couple of shows, talk about Notre Dame, talk about Ohio State, talk about where they overlap, everything going on with Ohio State, Ryan Day, they're losing straight to Michigan. Talk about Notre Dame and our matchup. So I'm going to get some of that going because I know you guys are interested in hearing what's going on in the Ohio State side. That's some good summer content. Jay Lehman, good to see you. Had a Georgia fan account try and troll me this week. They just don't know me. Get him, Jay. Get him. Domer Guy, I need OSU ticks. Can anybody help? Yeah, you and everybody else in the Midwest. How about that? You and everybody else in the Midwest need that. Twitter's a good place to find anybody who has loose ones. Ohio State's going to be tough. The last thing I'd do is stub up. I would try everything to avoid those fees and that whole racket. But on Twitter, I see people put up, hey, I got an inside track on a few tickets for this or that. OSU, that's going to be tough, though. Going to be tough. Jay, note for anybody going to Ireland, you need your credit card PIN to pay with the credit card most places. Good to know. Always Irish Senior. Always good to have Pops here. Adam Dowling, what's going on? Crying belly. Nobody talking about how turnover prone Artman is. 6 turnovers and getting benched against Louisville. Not a good look. That is TB12 on steroids. Here's the difference, crying belly. Even in the midst of some turnovers Hartman had, you also had all of the good stuff. TB12 on steroids. Doesn't the guy have as many pick sixes at Notre Dame as he does touchdowns to our guys? Like, if you're going to go that route, you can't stop where you stopped. Even if you wanted to say Hartman has a lot of turnovers, What on the plus side, there's more evidence of what you're going to get than Buckner ever provided. You can't ignore that. That is an intellectually dishonest argument because you can't ignore all the good stuff. So if you look at all those turnovers, Hartman still has all the high-end good stuff you didn't get out of Buckner yet. And taking it another step. What's the argument here? You would rather have Buckner, who has a turnover problem and less evidence on the high end? That's intellectually doesn't line up to me either. Because if you're worried about all those turnovers and one guy has more experience and more plus stats, that's a bad argument too. Why would you want to go with the other guy who has the pick sixes and more questions? So I don't get that. Brandon Fry, good morning. Good to see you out there working early. James Dowling, good morning, John. Finally, nice to meet you at the spring game. Central Michigan, we're going to do it again. It isn't going to be a spring game. It's going to be a real game, 80-degree weather, hopefully. And we're going to do it all again for Central Michigan. So anybody coming for that game, we're having a big old party and you're all invited. 99 days till Irish football. And I'm not mistaken, since we play in Ireland, our game should be on at like 9 Eastern, right? I had that discussion the other day with somebody. I think that might be a night game in Ireland. Like in 2012, I remember it was like a 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. start. I think it might be different this time, and they're moving that game later. I don't know that for sure, though. Good morning, John and the troops. 98 days till I like how people are counting down the days. We're excited. Angela Rudiger. Had to hit the like button before Alpin with the field day today at the daughter's school. Angela, such a good mom. Such a good Notre Dame mom. Like it. I like it a lot. Mikey Pulse. Wasn't the whole point of getting Sam Hartman here to solve the issues we had with Buckner? Also, Buckner never had a game as bad as Sam did against Louisville. Holy smokes. Buckner didn't have evidence on the high end you could rely on at all. So crying and belly, the other alternative is you have Buckner and you don't know what you're going to get out of him, and you have as many pick sixes as touchdown passes and you don't know what you're going to get. There's Sam Hartman's a 6th-year guy. You're going to get way more on the high end even if you get some dumb turnovers. I'm sorry. You just are. You just are. What else do we have? All right, let's hit the calls. I'm going to stop. I'll scroll through as I go through. 309, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hey, what's going on, John?
What's up, my friend? Just enjoying the Friday theme here. What's on your mind?
That's right. Well, last time I called was right after the Stanford debacle, so it's been a while.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, putting that in my mind. I could have went without that reminder, but I get a little notification here. I get a little notification of like if somebody's called the last time, and I knew it's been a while, so I wanted to make sure I brought you up and connected with you. It's been a long time since then. Where's your mind at in Notre Dame land now?
Well, I want to start on a positive note because, like you said, I'm down here in Bloomington and I'm going to go play at Prairie Vista this weekend and get some good golf in. And I'm in a positive mindset. So with that positive mindset, I just want to start us off on a good note here and say, there's nobody else I would want within college football, within reason right now, than Marcus Freeman. I mean, he is the man for the job. I believe in him. He's charismatic. He believes in the mission of Notre Dame.
Yep.
I think he's the right guy. And everything that's going on right now with recruiting and things like that. Okay, but let's step back and take a look at the landscape of college football and how things have changed within the last 2 years. Who else would you want other than Marcus Freeman?
I've asked that.
He's the guy
I've
for
asked
the
that
job.
as well. As far as like realistic guys that would have been available in that window, I thought it was the right guy, the right field, the right time. Notre Dame needed a vibe check. We needed it. We needed an energy shift. Things felt stale and everybody felt it around the program. Kelly felt it. It was just time for all that. The guy is a worker and he treats people the right way. And it's just a great start. If Freeman doesn't get over the hump or whatever, it isn't going to be for a lack of effort. That right there is already an improvement. Sorry, It is.
Right. Well, let me tell you another reason I'm optimistic going into this year. So I was looking up the the college football championship odds this morning. And can you take a guess at who the top 4 most favored teams are?
It's got to be probably Georgia. Probably Michigan and Ohio State are probably up there, I would guess.
Yep, those are 3.
Yeah, they're probably up there. I bet you LSU has pretty decent percentage this year, probably.
They do.
Yeah, I figured they would. And then let's think, who else are we forgetting? Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, LSU. Is that who's, and then who after that? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It goes Georgia, Ohio State, and Bama are tied for second.
Okay.
And then Michigan. So out of those another reason I'm optimistic is, man, looking at those top 4 teams there, Georgia, Ohio State, Bama, and Michigan. I mean, couldn't you make an argument that Hartman is better than at least 2 out of those 4 quarterbacks?
I think you could. I think then you're looking at a dynamic of like overall talent sitting in the program, depth, like all of that versus like the impact one guy can make right away. Like I get it. You know, you're looking at the bulk of recruiting over a few years. I know this. I'll throw this at you. In the last 5 years, Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State have accounted for over 25% of first-round NFL draft picks. Of all the first-round picks the last 5 years, those 3 teams have over a quarter of them come from their program. And it's not a surprise when you look at how they recruit and look at where they finish up there every year. It makes sense.
Right. I think obviously we've got Hartman. I mean, he won the job, so you can't say that, you know, Buckner would be any better with him being at Bama. So there's one quarterback he's definitely better than. You could make an argument, you know, Hartman versus McCarthy, but just from a production standpoint, obviously Hartman is more accomplished. Ohio State, you know, McCord, you know, we'll see how that plays out. But obviously, you know, taking into account the whole roster. But when you think about the most important position on the field, I feel confident about having a guy like Hartman at the reins.
Yeah, it's just, listen, man, it offers something we have not had in a very, very long time. Feeling like you have a guy who isn't going to be overwhelmed, can make all the throws physically, make reads and progressions, and have an internal clock to know how much time he has to get rid of a ball or make reads. Like, this is a kind of quarterback we just haven't seen in a long time. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but if the guy's healthy, it's going to be way more positive than anything we've seen lately. And I believe that. And if you want to argue with me, it's a low bar, I agree with you, but it's still the bar we've been drinking at.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly right. And you know what? The one frustrating part about it is doesn't it feel like this year is kind of wide open in terms of, you know, there is no 2020 Bama this year. There is no dominant Trevor Lawrence-led Clemson this year. Yeah. This year feels pretty wide open, and we have this established quarterback. But one thing that is kind of frustrating, right, is that, well, okay, we finally got the quarterback, but we don't have that Clark Lee defense we can depend on to keep them down to 14, 15 points a game.
Yeah, here's how I'm looking at this. This lines up for me in my mind, and it makes sense. Here's how I'm saying this. If the Notre Dame offense looks like a real one this year, meaning they could run and pass the ball more than just to the tight end, okay, but if you have a real balanced offense, they're going to, score more points over the course of a games and then a season. And number 2 is they're going to have the ball longer as well. Both of those things build the defense more leeway. They're not going to be out there as much. They don't have to be perfect to win because we can only score 13 points. You know what I mean? So that will help them, because I do have legitimate questions about some of the defense, and I'll believe we hold up front after I see them hold up front against Ohio State. Nothing before then. That's when I'll have my answer on that defensive front. Like, there are legitimate concerns on that defense. But if that offense takes a big jump forward, it's going to be the defense's best friend, and it's going to build them leeway. And I like the way that sets up. It's a new way to consume Notre Dame football, that's for sure.
Right. Well, last thing I'll leave you with, John, I was curious, have you heard anything about kind of last year? You know, maybe there were some key guys who weren't necessarily buying into the vision of Freeman, and that this year could be different. One of those addition by subtraction kind of situations where you have people who are really all in on the Freeman era.
You know, I think it's less about that. and more about individual cases where under the new situation, guys just aren't going to play as much. Like, does that make sense? Like, not necessarily like buying into the whole Freeman thing, but more like individually, some guys that aren't going to get enough balls to be happy or like, I'm going to go somewhere else. And I think that isn't a positive or a negative. It's just what happens when you change regimes and you have a new coach.
That's college football.
Yeah. And I think Notre Dame people, we want Notre Dame people to stay Notre Dame people. We want Notre Dame guys to graduate. We want them to stay around home because it matters to us. It's more of like a family vibe. And I think because Notre Dame's like that, we have a harder time breaking up. And it always turns into what's going wrong behind the scenes when somebody wants to leave. It isn't like that. It isn't that dramatic a lot of times. It's just a different vision, and not everybody's looked at the same and is going to play the same amount, and they want to go play. I don't blame anybody for that.
I hear you. Well, hey, thanks, John, for taking my call. I'll go hit some fairways down at Prairie Vista here for you. Have a great Friday.
Hey, man, that course is tough. I remember it, buddy. I remember it being tough in the cold. In October, we had like rain pouring sideways on a gray day, and I'm out there trying to play Prairie Vista. We had a couple rough, soggy days, but I do miss the place. Hit them well, hit them few.
Yes, sir. Go Irish.
Hey, thanks for the call, man. Call again. Take care. Oh, I missed that golf course. Really, really high-end, nice place. Tough to get around. $5 holler from Adam Dowling. Toughest schedule in 30 years. Marcus has been handed. BK knew what was coming. I say it all the time. Nobody knows better the mess that we were in on that roster more than the architect of it himself. I have never been more sure of anything. Brian Kelly dug himself a hole, allowed his staff to dig himself a hole all over this roster. And then Kelly was like, I am out of here. I do not have to deal with fixing these problems. I've never been more sure. Mike, no coach should get a pass till a title is back in our possession. Each coach comes into the same scenarios, bad roster, needing rebuilt, etc. Sits Lou, all are on probation. Look at this. Mike's laying down the law. All Notre Dame coaches, automatic probation. Only way off, win another title. No big deal. And then you're allowed to be, in the open Notre Dame coaching circle, I guess. I love that. 859-574, you're coming up next. Stay with me. David Solomon, the two unforgivable losses to Marshall and Stanford last year really hurt the perception in Notre Dame football. 11-2 with a bowl win as opposed to 9-4. Things would feel much different than they do. 100% correct, David. 100% correct. I guess you could. Marshall got messed up because that's when the quarterback injury happened. You still need to find a way to ugly out that game and win it, even if it's ugly. Stanford bothers me more. At least you could point to a catastrophic, big time event in Marshall. It doesn't make it okay. It's never okay. But you know what I mean. Stanford, you had a beautiful night game at I was there that day, beautiful night game at Notre Dame Stadium, and you totally no-showed. That's the one that bothers me. And after that game, I was saying on this program, how in the hell does this happen? How are you Notre Dame and you're playing on a beautiful night with the sun going down, shining off that Golden Dome, and you don't show up to play this horrible Stanford team? By the way, David Shaw was already checked out. You want to talk about Kelly checking out? David Shaw, you could see it in his face. The guy was checked out. Done with Stanford, done with all of it. And he got handed a win at our place on the way out. It still bothers me. And my problem was, I was saying, where's the leadership? Like where are the guys standing up in that locker room saying, not today. This ain't happening. We're playing like crap. We're going to fight it out and do just enough to win and then go get to practice and work on something. I was devastated that leadership didn't show up and that they no-showed and actually ended up losing. I will say this, though. The performance against Clemson did rejuvenate my spirits. You add the negative stuff, go on with the two unacceptable losses. On the plus side, I will argue this. Notre Dame never had a performance like they did against Clemson, a top 4 team undefeated. They never beat a team like that under Kelly in the way we did. You got a couple of those wins, but nothing that looked that dominant. And listen, John, Clemson was down last year, but I know that. I know Clemson was down. They were leaking oil. They were begging for a loss leading up to Notre Dame. But the fact remains, they were 8-0, undefeated, ranked number 4. You beat the crap out of them, and it wasn't close. Okay? That matters on the high end, okay? So you could be disappointed on the low end, but at least on that high end, I saw something I never saw under Kelly. You beating the brakes off an undefeated top 4 team. Not last second field goal, happy to win. It's the best thing ever. You beat the hell out of them at your place. I was in that stadium and saw a sea of orange. Every exit was just a parade of orange people with their head down, quietly walking out of our stadium and leaving it, midway through the fourth quarter, the early fourth quarter, beep, 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 they were out, okay? That is something that reaffirmed we got some here that's a little different, okay? There's still going to be struggles. But on that high end, I got something I didn't get under the other guy ever. And I got it in 1 year. I waited, over 10 for Kelly to deliver me one that looked like that? Never got it. So if you want to rip Freeman on the downside, fine, do it. You got to give him credit for the one on the upside, too. There was never a game that felt that dominant against a team ranked that high, undefeated, that late in the year under Kelly ever. So you want to talk about being fair to Freeman. Question him where you want to question him. You got to give him credit for what he did on the high end that was higher than Kelly ever did, too. If you're going to play that, play it fair. Play it fair. What else do we have? Coming back to the phones. Let's get caught up on this. This is interesting. Where's the biggest hole on offense and defense? There are 2 ways I see the Notre Dame offense not being significantly improved this year. There are 2 paths to that I see. This is actually a good question. Here's number 1. Hartman gets hurt. That's obvious. That's number 1. Okay. If he gets hurt, you're in the same nightmare as last year. Throw out all the plans. You're fighting, scratching, clawing to get by week. You're not building anything big picture momentum. You're on life support, and you're just trying to find a way to win every game. That's a rough way to live. Hartman gets injured. That's number 1. Scrap the whole thing. Nightmare again. Here's number 2. The interior O-line of Notre Dame lets them down in the biggest moments. That would be the other way this offense struggles. You feel great about those tackles, Fisher. You know that. So that's the only other way is I see you getting in the big 3 where you have real talent pushing. And I could see the tackles being good, but up the middle, we get bullied just enough that it disrupts everything we want to do in the passing game or running game. That would be it. But the running backs, even without Diggs, they're going to be fine. Tight ends, Notre Dame will do a good job there. You're going to have more options at wide receiver of guys that could actually do real stuff. That would be it. Barring the health, it'd be us getting pushed around interior O-line, not being able to handle that. And on defense, again, it all starts up front to me. I know we're going to worry about the back end. I know nobody likes Maris not getting home on blitzes in the middle of that defense. It all starts up front to me. Can you get pressure on Ohio State with our defensive front? I want to see it. Can you hold up against the run against these big 3 and the talent they have? I want to see it. So it all starts up front. So I want to see that. And in a way, old school football, my answers ended up being up front on both sides of the ball. Go figure. But it's just that important. But it's going to be a waste of our great tackles if we get bullied in the middle interior of that O-line. That's on my mind. It's on my mind. ND goes 5-7. The statistical probabilities of that, I ran the numbers. It's 1.7%. Notre Dame under 6-6, that percentage is literally 1.7%. I don't see it. And if I do see it, it means half of our team got ran over with the truck and their legs are broken. That's the only way. That's the only way. Got to think Ryan Day can't just keep losing to Michigan. That's a problem. You don't get to do that there. You don't get to do that there. All right, let's go back to the phones. 859, you're on the line. Happy Friday. What's going on? 574, you're coming up next. What's going on, 859?
How you doing, John?
I'm doing very well. There's a lot going on, man, even in the off season. Where's your mind at? I know you always got something loaded up for me. What do you got?
All right, 2 trivia questions. I'm going to push back on here. You're not a true Notre Dame fan. I know Ohio State. Fine. You beat one school only. Name me the 2 coaches in USC history, based on your age demographic, that have cost Notre Dame the most pain.
That have caused Notre Dame the most pain? I don't even want to. Well, one of them's got to be Pete Carroll, and then one from probably before I was alive. Wrong?
Shut up. Wrong.
Who?
Wrong.
Who is it?
Wrong. 2 are easy, because isn't your thing to win a national title? The 2 coaches that have caused us the most pain over the history, John McKay and the fat man, Robinson.
Yeah, again, some of that is a victim of when I grew up, that the Carroll thing was like my formative years of misery with USC. And it's just, listen, man, you can't start out 0-2 against USC. I love Marcus Freeman.
I agree. That's why you've got to beat them.
Bro, it's as much as I love you and your effort and your energy, 0-2 against you. It doesn't matter how much I love you. I'm going to lose my mind. That's a bad start. You can't do it. You can't have it.
I'm agreeing. We got to beat USC. That's my whole point on that. Not Ohio State. Hell no.
I want to say.
I'm arguing if you don't argue that.
Yeah. But wait, Tim, wait. All right. I existentially, USC's always going to be more to me for that reason. But I get when people call me and say, John, that Ohio State game is the arrow that is going to dictate the rest of this year. And it's going to tell you where we're at, what level, and how much more work there is to do. I get all of that. Existentially, I'm never going to let USC go. It's never going to happen, ever, till I am doing this show from my casket. It's never going to end. It's always going to be USC. It's every year. It's existentially important to our being to beat that team. Everything they stand for is the opposite that we live by. It has to be.
100% agree with you. But that's you have the other negative people. They would have. I don't know what your age demographic is on this on your call-in show and the text coming in. But what was Lou Holtz's record his second year?
Weren't they like barely 500 or whatever? What were they?
No, that's the first year, John.
The first year,
year was 8. The first year they were 5-6. Lost 5 games or lost 6 games by a total of 14 points. Look it up and look who we lost to. This today's age would have run Lou Holtz out after the first year. Second year went 8-3, got blown out. I mean, got embarrassed where you couldn't finish the game against who? You probably don't know. Texas A&M. Now, in today's world, they should fire him, get rid of him. He couldn't coach. Then look at the run we went on for the next 6 years.
But it's like, I don't get who people want. If you're complaining about Marcus Freeman, who else did you want?
John,
but not you, but I'm taking all these shots on Marcus Freeman. I don't get what people wanted. I'm not happy we lost to Marshall and Stanford either. I'm not happy about it.
No.
But I don't know who they wanted. Who did you want to come in there? Was Luke Fickell going to excite people? Were you going to get a little tickle if they hired Fickell? I don't think that was going to excite anybody. So I don't know what people wanted him to do.
The scary thing is if Freeman doesn't get it done, just shut the program down because he cares. You saw it you saw it the first day he got hired. He could have gone out with his family, had a nice dinner. Where was he?
Yep.
Kelly, that fat man would have been doing nothing. He would have been just boosting his ego. Where was Freeman recruiting? You got to also understand, it's a different environment. As far as, look at the quality of students that get into Notre Dame now. I don't know how they get anybody in, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you hit on my number one overall fear. And my number one overall fear right now is there is nobody that's going to be able to recruit Notre Dame better than the way Freeman does because of his effort and communication. I have a hard time seeing anybody be able to level that message, deliver it better than him. That's where it's scary, because if that guy can't get some big time results out of that, that does freak me out, because I don't see anybody else that Notre Dame would hire that would be able to recruit as well as he can. And even he is running into NIL this, and you can't get that guy in because of this. But like, I don't know who else you would want that has a better energy to recruit Notre Dame with our message being modern within our values. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know.
You're 100% correct. You nailed it. That's the depressing thing.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel any better that they're letting Brady Quinn be a part of this NIL stuff? I just feel like he's going to have a better pulse on what would work with younger guys than Jack. I think it's a good move to have Brady involved. Brady's modern enough. He knows the scoreboard. Brady knows the realities of all this more than I think a 65-year-old lawyer would. I like that. Maybe Brady could get some doors open in here.
I agree with you, but let's ask about that 65-year-old. He's a guy cashing in his check, too. How do you do the AD job from Indianapolis?
Yeah, well, I don't know. But I just like having Brady involved. He's younger. I think he gets it. Connect with that global network and come up with some great NIL stuff. I don't know. But I like seeing him there. Oh, let me ask you this. You're a Notre Dame traditionalist. I got to ask you this. I know your traditional values. I'm going to ask this. This is going to be the point of the Saturday night show. This is kind of the direction of tomorrow night's show.
I'm calling on that one. All right, go.
Here we go. That ACC and all those issues they're having with their TV deal and half the teams wanting to leave, and they're debating on what to do with all that. There is a trickle down to Notre Dame there. Notre Dame is making arrangements. If they have to go the Big Ten route, they are making all the arrangements necessary to do so. I have had that told to me that they need to have a backup plan, and they're putting one together. If something dumb happens with the ACC, they break up or they redistribute the TV money and that interrupts things, that could all force Notre Dame to have to go down that path, and they're getting their ducks in a row should that have to happen. What is your reaction to that?
Doc can call me home. Let's start with the history with the Big Ten. They hate Catholics. Michigan didn't want us in the beginning.
Yep.
We have to go to the Big Ten. I don't know if I'll watch again.
You will. You'll watch.
I'm 56 years old.
You'll watch. And every week will be a borderline rivalry game, and you're going to get into it. Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State.
I know
all
the
of it.
John.
Wisconsin, Iowa. You're going to want a piece of them all. Go out to LA and play USC. You're going to want all of them.
Is that the case, though? Are we at that point? All right, let's do this. They say we went in for all our other sports. How about, we're out of the ACC, you tell me we can't find 12 teams to play us when we've got 4 locked in? You drop independent football, you go to the Big East, which has good sports for basketball, the women's sports, all the Olympic sports, you go there. The Big East was good to us. They'd love to bring us in. They don't have football. You do that. If we go to the Big Ten, which wouldn't shock me, because you got to also battle here because it's the safe move. There's as you brought up, there's a fraction of that school that wants to forget what built the school. They don't give a damn about football. That's the easy way to sign out. If we do that, as much as I live and die, I don't know how much I would anymore, to be honest with you.
And
you're forgetting the whole history.
The one thing that you would be able to count on is that TV money. You'd be looking at about $90 million a year payout in that Big Ten deal. And theoretically, that would keep you competitive. It would also eliminate, you not being able to get a bye in the first round of the playoff and all that. Like, you would have a bunch of rivalry games. I just got to put it out there because I admit I didn't think all that stuff going on with the ACC was going to impact Notre Dame that much one way or the other. And I was told yesterday, John, you're underselling what that is all going to do to Notre Dame. And this is more real than you think. I don't know. I was told that yesterday. So maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. So I don't know.
Well, all these schools, where are they getting that money? Because the buyouts are insane.
Yeah, the buyouts are insane. It's like 120 million to get out of that league. I even heard if they reshuffle that revenue, like Florida State and them are going to the ACC saying, why do the bottom feeders get the same payout for the TV deal we get when, we bring in more ratings? Even if they all stay in the ACC, but they redo all that TV money, that can affect Notre Dame, I was told. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. There's more smoke here than I thought.
Well, wait, but the Big Ten could argue the same point. They split it equally. There's always 4 legit schools in the Big Ten until USC gets in there.
Yeah, but
there's only 4 big
wait.
power programs in the Big.
But the difference is they're all getting $90 million a year, so nobody's complaining about it. That's the problem with the ACC is they're getting 32 a year.
But what are the top 4? What are
right?
the top 4 schools going to do? I agree. What are the top 4? They're going to argue the same point. Well, wait a minute. Why are we deviating? No, you're kind of giving my point. Is that they're all going to start doing that. You're setting a dangerous precedent if you do that.
It is dangerous because you could put some of your own membership into a grave they can never come out of then. Like if you're the bottom feeder and then you're making all that less money, I think you're pretty much, it's a nail in your coffin. But I've heard the ACC's talking about that because their top schools are going, if you don't do this, we're going to leave. And then you have nothing. I don't know, man. It's just a wild dynamic. And where it seems like Notre Dame has options, though. They could kind of sit, let some of this happen. But they have contingencies in place for everything. But I know a guy like you isn't going to like us not being independent. I know you're not.
I just where you're going, because it's supposed to be about loyalty. I'm just going to history of what the Big Ten has done to us. They were talking, I would say it was early 90s when the first time they were really contemplating going to Big Ten. And I called in because at that time I was a member of Soren Society. And the backlash was through the roof. Now, granted, this is the early 90s. You were probably, 4 or 5. And the place went nuts. I think now that's what I'm saying. If they go that's just where we are at now. That there's a big fraction there that doesn't give a damn if we win a football game or not. Like you said, the wine and cheese crowd. No, it wasn't always like that. It's just what it's become.
Yeah.
It's just what they've let in.
No, Tim.
Well, that's nice.
Tim, you realize how much louder that old original Stadium Bowl got compared to what our new one does that has all the extra seats and the echoes? How loud it got when everybody in there was there for the right reasons? Not a little reunion picnic.
I know, I was there.
Not a little reunion picnic to see your old law school buddies. They were all there to see us kick some ass.
Go back, pull up video. I have the original VHS tape. Pull up the 88 game against Miami. The student body was ready to go fight Jimmy himself.
Loud.
Pull that tape up.
It was loud around there in that little shell. That little shell, and it was plenty loud, and even in that little shell. And that's the problem, man. What you do is you price tickets to the moon for the big games. You're almost ensuring that the only people that can go are the wine and cheesers because each ticket costs you 3 mortgage payments.
You're 100% right.
Whatever. What do I know?
What
do I know,
Until that
man?
dries up.
I don't know nothing. I just yell in my basement into a rectangle every day. What do I know? I just want the place to be loud, and I want everybody there to care about the result.
To God's ears, but I don't think they do. That's a sad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guarantee I could come up with a 10-question quiz that I guarantee you that 20% of graduates that just graduated from Notre Dame couldn't pass on Notre Dame history of sports and all their sports. And you and I argue on this one. You should know all the sports. They're all important. I get not as big as football, but all of them matter. And I guarantee these clowns, without looking up on their little phones, couldn't pass it. Not the obvious ones. The ones that if you know the history. When we went in, our down period was 5 years when we had Jerry Faust. But in today's world, let's face it, we haven't been relevant because the only reason Kelly was relevant, why? The reason I want to beat one school. Who was down? USC. If USC had the roster and the guy that's there now, Kelly would have been run out of 10. He was looking to leave after the third year. He was looking to go to the Eagles. You think he gave a damn about Notre Dame? Freeman does. So these clowns that you put up, which annoy me.
There's no
You've
doubt.
You've got a couple of them. Uncle Luke and Newt on the one knee.
Yeah.
Why do you put those clowns up? The little texts annoy the hell out of me. They do.
I know, but you got to understand.
They don't love Notre Dame. How pathetic is your life? How pathetic is your life to troll on an ND show? You must have no life at all. I'm sorry. You have zero life.
Here's what I think, man. I'll give you the answer. I think those are guys who love Notre Dame, but they're so down and out about how things have gone and how long it's been since we've won anything. I think that it's easier to present the negativity than for them to allow themselves any hope left, because with that, you could get hurt again. And I think these are people that do like Notre Dame, or you wouldn't be here every day. They're both here for every show I do. I think they love Notre Dame, but they've been so hurt for so long that they're just jaded.
And they're
jaded. Yeah.
What am I?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point.
I would never put that stuff. Yeah. I mean, you want to debate what I realistically think? It's going to come to, and you've made the good point. You've made not one, but you've made a hell of a statement when you
I was going to say, I'm like, shit, all this time I'd done the show, I had one good point. Like 8 years, you were like, John, you said, it's funny though, John, you had one good point in 8 years. I'm going to give you credit.
Which, no, it was a key. It was key though, John, because if Hartman doesn't stay upright, we're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's last year all over. It's time all over again.
If Hartman goes down, we're fine, depending when it happens. Please don't let that happen. Please, I don't need that. We could be a 500 team.
Oh yeah, it's big trouble. Yeah, for sure.
Let's say he goes down game 2 like we had last year. There's all those swing games. We're not winning.
Yeah, it can't be. You can't do that. And what that also would do is it pushes everything really Freeman wants to get going 2 years then behind, because you had to scrap everything you wanted to do big picture offensively last year. You can't do that again. So you need to just pray that guy stays healthy. And if he does, the offense is going to look a lot better. Is Hartman perfect? No, because if he was, he'd be on an NFL team just getting drafted. He's not perfect, but if he's healthy, it's going to be a big upgrade, and it will help Notre Dame at least try and get more modern, I hope.
100% agree with you. Realistically, if we say, I think honestly, if he stays healthy and the defense develops, I think we can go 11-1 at worst, 10-2. That's year 2. Okay, you can build on that recruiting.
Yeah.
Finally win that damn bowl game, and then you build into year 3, praying that they're getting enough reps to eat I doubt Carr. A lot of things I've heard is Minchie is not bad. So granted, you'd rather have more experienced quarterback, but look at Tony West. Granted, different era, but still, he did it. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's the real tricky thing is you got 23. What do you want him to do in 24? That is a part of this, because assume health, and then Hartman, you're going to get whatever you want out of it. With health, 10-2 is the minimum. If Hartman's alive, 10-2 is the minimum at the low end for me of what it needs to be if that guy's healthy. But then next year gets real interesting. I've heard good things about Minchie too. Do you want to see Minchie get that job, or are they going to go get another transfer guy to build a bridge to Carr, and then Minchie comes in with that red shirt? What do you want him to do after this?
Well, if Minchie doesn't get the shot, he'll go out the door. In today's world,
yep.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, whoever
really changed things.
Whether it's next year, whether it's 24 or 25, Minchie or Carr, whoever doesn't win that job is going to leave. Like, that's the modern reality. Everybody needs to know that. Don't be banking on both of them. I think whoever doesn't win that job when it comes down to those two's out of here. So just accept it.
On a note, do you know any inside information on when's the AD going to retire? Hopefully soon. I
kept hearing he was going to retire, and he keeps not retiring. So I don't know what the deal is. I kept hearing it, but I have no idea. I haven't heard a peep about it. I don't know.
Well, good luck with the rest of the show. So what's the topic for Saturday night? And what time are you starting?
Saturday night, we're probably thinking 8:00 start. And we need to break down some of this ACC stuff. And I need to go over some of the details that impact Notre Dame. And then I have a couple other things as well. But that Big Ten thing's a lot more real than even I thought. And I'm going to go over some of the reasons why, just so people know where the scoreboard is.
That's going to get heated. I'm going to have to definitely put that on because you're going to get the deviation. One of the questions you should ask: what's your age group? How long have you been following Notre Dame? And I'll think of a good text question or a trivia question that you should ask these clowns to see if they really know their history, or they can't research it off the top of head. Know it.
Tim, here's a problem that I feel, and my dad and I have talked about this. We're getting into the territory with Notre Dame where there's almost a full generation out of Notre Dame winning things that matter. That is dangerous. Up until my age group, you at least had everybody in a generation could live and experience and remember and feel Notre Dame reaching the top. People my age that were 4 the last time we won it. This is really dangerous existentially to have a whole age group of people time through and never see us win anything. That is the danger zone. That's where the bar of what's acceptable here drops. When people aren't used to winning, the bar drops. And then if you don't have a dad and a grandpa reminding you of what this used to be and what the standard is, you got a whole bunch of people that think Kelly deserves a statue.
Well, the sad thing is, I'm the age now. I'm the grandfather. I have friends that have grandkids. So yeah, you're right. We're done.
It's getting dangerous. People my age, you barely are hanging on to any of that eye level stuff, man. All right, give me a call tomorrow and send me something you want me to yell at to the group. Do that.
I will. Take care. Thanks.
All right, have a good one, man. Have a good one. Man, he always pulls out the history. He always pulls it. Oh yeah, look at this. John's getting upset. Yeah, evergreen tweet. Like, what do you mean John's getting upset? That's like saying John woke up. What do you mean John's getting upset? John's breathing air. John's getting upset. That guy loves Notre Dame so much. And just the old school stuff and those values and the way all of that winning. It's amazing, all that winning, how it poisons your mind. Oh, I feel like fans are giving excuses for going 9-3 or 10-2. Hartman is here to go 11-1 or better. Yes, but only if you're telling me the rest of that roster can make that a reality. Andrew, that's where I get held up on this. Is I get what you're saying. But that only is a reality if all the other parts Hartman doesn't have any control over are at that level to do their part. Right? Like, that's what I worry about. Even if I think that offense could take off, like, is there enough everywhere else? Like on that defense when Hartman's on the bench to get to an 11-1 level. So, like, I get that that's why Hartman's here, is to raise that ceiling and put Notre Dame's offense into the modern era and all that. I love that. But do we have enough everywhere else that if he does that, you could get to that 11-1? That's what I don't know. That's what I don't know. And that's tricky. 503, you're talking to me. Maybe the phone thing froze. What are we doing here with this? There we go. 503, I got you. What's up?
What's up, John? How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's just a lively Friday morning in Notre Dame land. It's never boring here. I love it. I love it. It's May, and people are all worked up about the Irish. What's on your mind?
Oh, I honestly just wish the game would just start, next Saturday. I'm just kind of sick and tired of waiting. I just want to find out,
I know.
This team is for real.
I know. And it isn't. Here's the other thing, too. It isn't just Notre Dame I'm excited to see. There are so many big picture college football things unfolding. I want to see what happens with the ACC and all their nightmare. I want to see I want to see so many different things, all of the SEC. Think about that. I've never had much interest in the SEC. Every LSU and Alabama game's must watch now. It's Notre Dame and the SEC. I got to watch all. I want to see how it's all going to play out, and I don't want to wait.
It's always been like that for me, John, honestly. Like, I've always wanted to watch, the Big 12, Pac-12, SEC, the works. For me, I just want Notre Dame to go undefeated, win a title, just so we can get that old, monkey off our backs. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things. It's just an ongoing, curse I feel like we've had since '93, where it's just always been something.
Yeah, it really has always been something. That's the thing when you say that. It just, sometimes I don't know if it's because my entire being is wrapped up in Notre Dame-dom, but it really seems like a lot of weird crap happens that you go, this is so Notre Dame-y. This could only be Notre Dame. Like, how could this be? You want an example of that? 2012, number one team in the land, playing for a championship. And your Heisman candidate had a fake girlfriend and got trolled online and catfished. You can't make this up. like that's an example. That is an example.
I remember that.
Like,
I remember all that.
Our
like
best
freshman in high school.
Our best player
I
got
like
catfished while being at the Heisman thing. The guys talk about his girlfriend that died. She wasn't even real. That's only could happen in Notre Dame. Something that dumb.
Well, I mean, I've talked about it before, but like the 2012 season, like it's kind of ironic, but we actually played Navy and Ireland, so it's like maybe this will be another year we go to the title.
Caller, time out 1 second. Crying belly. I could tell John doesn't do research when he said Hartman's bigger than Buckner, blah, blah, blah. Do your research. Pull the video up on your YouTube app. Go watch the video I said. I'm not letting you misconstrue my words. All I said is the photo created a stir because it made it look like Hartman was way bigger and stronger because of the way the camera was. And I said in the video, I am totally understanding that this is a camera thing. Just wanted to clear that up. My bad.
No, you're fine. I just lost track where I was at. But like the 2012 team, like it's kind of ironic though, where this is the same year where we're going to be playing Navy and Ireland too. It's just maybe we go to the playoffs and win the whole thing. You never know. I mean,
yeah, there you go. What do you make of the new playoff era? Do you think that's going to be good for Notre Dame or bad for Notre Dame? Here's what I mean by that. Obviously, Notre Dame could probably go 10-2 and make the playoff most years, but once you're in, it's going to be way harder to win it. So
it just means
right?
never has to join conference. That's what it's pretty much. You got people like Jack Swarbrick who are honestly would be more than happy to just have Notre Dame just be independent for the end of time. Where in reality, I feel like the Big Ten is better for us because we'll be playing Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State on a regular basis. Or, they'll flip it, whatever, once a year, but it'll change the perception where it's like we have that extra game. So if we screw up, we still have that extra game to make up, instead of just being completely stripped. I mean, yes, I like being independent, but it hasn't done anything for us the past 30 years.
Yeah, it's really, it's just hard to navigate all these changes.
It's an old Notre Dame thinking. It doesn't work like that. The game has changed. You got NIL, and I also wanted to mention too, I don't know if you are into like the college football game, but I don't know if you heard about
EA Sports. It's in the game.
EA and NCAA like agreed with like a licensing thing with like likeness when it came to players. So what's your stance on that? Do you think Notre Dame is eligible to be in the new NCAA football game?
I believe I saw on Twitter that they are going to be in the game. So I think that's already been all figured out. And I think I read on Twitter that they are going to be included in the new game.
Yeah, it was something no one's really talked about, so I just wanted to bring it up because, got some, video game fans in here, so, why not?
Yeah, everybody played that game. I just remember, here's what I'd do. I'd play that game, roll out with Vince Young, and if I didn't pass it, I just ran it for 20 yards, got out of bounds right down the field every time. That's what I did when I used to play that game.
Right, and I think it's going to help Notre Dame when it comes to like the players too, because they're going to be compensated. And so what I'm thinking of is like if we sign with Nike, and then Notre Dame plays already in the game, because there's players that get to pick and choose if they want to be in the game or not. And so it's really interesting because, if you're at a specific school, you could be making money off of the video game and then, the shoe deals and, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
It is interesting. And I don't know how long you were listening to the show, but my opinion is the more Brady Quinn is involved in figuring out Notre Dame's NIL plan, I think the better, because I just believe he is modern enough that he knows what we're up against and what it's going to take. And I'm not sure Jack can even be that at his age and all the high level responsibilities he has. I like connecting Quinn to this. I trust him to have a pulse on the modern times to know what we need to do. I like that. Keep Brady around.
I think what they're trying to do is I think Brady Quinn is the runner up to be the next athletic director.
Yeah.
I could be crazy, but like I would rather have a football guy that cares about Notre Dame football over a guy that just, is a alum and never played football at Notre Dame. I'm sorry. I'm just, actually went.
I used to hear that Quinn was being groomed for maybe next AD. And I was like, he's a younger guy for that big of a job at Notre Dame, and I'm like, is he even in that circle? I didn't know. The more I learn about this, Brady Quinn is in the ultimate Notre Dame discussion circle that you could be in. I love that. If he's ready for that, I think everybody would support him. That's for sure. That's maybe isn't that one thing all Notre Dame people can agree on? We pretty much like Brady Quinn. I don't really know. Might be the least controversial thing around here is to say everybody respects and likes Brady.
I mean, he's a very likable guy. I mean, he's on the worst network of all time, Fox, but, he still does fine on there dealing with those idiots. But, I mean, I think Brady Quinn would do well as athletic director. I think it really would benefit the football program more than like fencing, because who cares about fencing or basketball?
Dude, you know what cracks me up? You know what cracks me up? You bring up fencing. I'm happy and frustrated whenever I'm at a Notre Dame game and we haven't won anything I care about my whole life. And in between quarters, they go, welcome out the 28-time fencing champions. And every year, and all these other sports that win stuff. And in between the TV timeouts, they bring them out there. Every one of them, I'm like, I'm happy for you, but I'm mad that the reason I'm here today doesn't do this.
I mean, I honestly, I'm a big Notre Dame fan, but I didn't realize that we actually did something in fencing. That just shows how much I really care about, fencing or any other sport of that matter. I mean, it's football. Notre Dame is a football school, and it always will. I mean, yes, we've won titles in women's basketball. Yes, whatever, but it's football.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing that matters. And yeah, I think Quinn would do a great job as an athletic director. I mean, there was a long time I wanted Ohio State's athletic director because, he's, he went to Notre Dame, and so I felt like he'd be a great fit. But
yeah, and
I
then
think he's about to.
Let me ask you this: what do you think Notre Dame should do with the TV situation? What do you want him to do for that? It's a big thing on the table here.
Honestly, I mean, I'd rather us just be on PBS at this point because I don't want to be on Peacock. Forget that crap. I mean,
yeah, you have that. I don't know. It's going to be a big deal. Got to make sure that money's in the ballpark. I don't care the network. That money's got to be in the ballpark. The Big Ten's getting 90. You got to be around.
Days, be on like Channel 10 or Channel 2, like the good old days, where it's just like Notre Dame would just pop up on a main channel instead of just like, for me, like, you know, over here in Oregon, it's like, oh, Channel 8. But now when we're just watching a know-nothing team, we have to freaking subscribe to Peacock. Like, I don't do that. Yeah. I go to my dad's to watch the game because I don't pay for that crap.
Yeah.
You're just literally giving the school money so they can do whatever they want and give it to the fencing, you know, group or whatever. But like, I don't care about that. The main thing I care about most is that Notre Dame goes undefeated, and I hope, you know, the fans show up, because the last time I was there in 2019, I remember when I would get all fiery, everyone would just sit down and just was all quiet, and it's just like, you know, how are we supposed to be successful as a program if our fans that show up there aren't even real Notre Dame fans?
Listen, man, there's two different tracks of success. One of them is, are you mostly selling out your place and then making a bunch of money guaranteed? And the other is actually winning things on the field. And sometimes there's a divergent path there between the groups. And I don't know. Maybe the new playoff era will change things up. I don't know. Maybe we could get back to making that place loud again and a miserable place for visitors to come. I don't know, but we're way too friendly. Like, I know we have that reputation, and every time, you know, welcome to Notre Dame, we are almost too respectful of the visitors sometimes. It's like, it's a compliment and I hate it. We're almost way too nice.
Why is it though, back in like, I mean, I don't mean to talk about the old days, and I tend to do that, and I know a lot of Notre Dame fans do that because we reminisce about the old times. But for me, you know, I hear stories back in like the 80s and 90s where people used to fear us when we would go in, and you would probably know about this, you know, SMU, when they went on the death penalty and they lost everything. I heard a story where they played Notre Dame at home, and they were afraid to get out of the locker room because they were just terrified. And Notre Dame, with Lou Holtz at the time, we just riled up like 60 points on them, and we could have easily put 80. But it's crazy that people used to just be so afraid. And it's just like, we need to bring back that killer instinct, that fear that we lost. You know?
Yep. It is. And the irony is, it used to be that way in a smaller stadium without a jumbotron cranking techno music and without all of that infrastructure now that makes every noise amplify and echo. That original old little bowl sitting there near South Bend, Indiana, used to be on the Richter scale. And so it's just changed. I want to get back to that. I hope Ohio State provides that environment. We'll have to wait and see.
I just, you know, one last thing I wanted to mention too, John, and I'm going to get off because I have some stuff to take care of. But like, I want Notre Dame to reduce the stadium size, because I feel like when Notre Dame was a smaller stadium, I felt like we accomplished more and it was louder. And I feel like the bigger it's been as electric that they wanted. Because I know what they were trying to do. They had the NBC deal, and they had like a 4-year period with Vinny Serrato and Lou Holtz where they had #1 recruiting classes. And, you know, in theory, it's like, why didn't we win more titles? And honestly, you can blame Holtz for quite a bit of those. I mean, you could say we should have gone 89, 90, and then 93. And it's just always been something, like I said.
Yep, it's always been something, even when the something is awarding a team you beat head-to-head the trophy. You know what I mean? Just in 93, just you know, Lifetime Achievement Award for Bobby. Forget that head-to-head. Like, that is still offensive to me, very much so. But I don't know, man. Now, I will admit, though, I complain about the Notre Dame crowd, but I got to tell you, I was there for Clemson last year. I thought it was loud. I thought it was about as loud as it could be for us having a few losses in that game. Like, I thought that was a
Right.
good crowd that night. But again, we already had a bunch of losses, so it's not like much was on the line other than nationally, but it was
true,
loud.
John. Like, so can you name, like, Kelly's first season? What did he do? What did he accomplish his first season? He beat, what was it, number 10 Utah?
Yeah,
I think he beat.
Yeah.
Was it Utah? And then I think he lost to Michigan.
Wasn't year 2 where the first game was Chip Holtz in South Florida and that whole nightmare? Wasn't that the first game of year 2? Or was that year 1?
Okay, well, time out. We're not talking about that.
All right.
No.
That was a bad one. It was a bad one. It was the worst.
Don't even bring that back.
Bro.
Oh, my God. We had Game Chris.
Yeah.
And that guy was supposed to. Oh my God.
Yeah. Listen,
5-star quarterback.
If you're gonna lose, here's what I'll say: if you're gonna play terrible and lose to an inferior opponent whose last name is Holtz, by the way, if you're gonna do that, the fact that it lasted 8 hours because of the storm delays, it was the worst day ever.
Oh, no.
You couldn't even just lose in 4 hours. It took 8. Because of the lightning. I wish it would have struck me in the face so I didn't have to watch the rest of it.
I remember they even said they might have to, like, schedule the game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like the next day.
Just imagine waiting on that misery to wake up to it again the next day. Unbelievable. I don't even want to change. I don't want to get off this call with you on this as the last thing. Say something else.
Okay, well, I'm saying Freeman accomplished more in one season that Kelly would ever do. I mean, we beat Clemson. I mean, who can say that? And we could have beat USC if the defense didn't fall flat on its face. So, I mean, if you take away, Tyler Buckner just being an overrated quarterback with no.
All right, look at it this way. Yeah, you had the disappointments, and everybody's going to say Marshall and Stanford were completely unacceptable no matter what. Absolutely agree. But at least on the high end, I saw what it could be like. Like, Freeman got the most out of his guys in that moment against Clemson, beat an undefeated top 8-0 team, top 4 ranked, and beat the brakes off of them at his house. And I never felt that under Kelly. We never got a performance like that under Kelly. At least if people want to point to the down end of last year, I had something really on the high end I like that excites me too.
Right. Well, the thing is too, John, is that, like, he kind of, like, I'm not going to compare Freeman to, like, Lou Holtz or anything, but, like, what I'm trying to say is that when it came to the big games with Kelly, you knew we were going to lose. Like, be honest. Like, there was games where, we just had to believe and have faith. But, like, with Freeman, you don't know if we're going to win or lose. I like that feeling. I'd rather have that feeling and go into a big game with Ohio State knowing, like, we could win this game. I feel like Freeman will get these guys pumped up. He's a younger guy. He knows, Brian Kelly didn't know how to do that. He was an old guy set in his ways, and he's been, honestly, I think we got to upgrade. I think we have the right guy, and I think we will win a national title. I mean,
woo!
It's gonna.
Woo!
I do believe it. I believe it,
baby.
I'm willing to drink crow, but I think Freeman will at least win one national title in his tenure at Notre Dame. At least one.
Wow. That would be that's a statue. Like, if you get it done, that's a statue for the rest of time.
Of course, if he could pull like a Leahy and just, go on a 4-year span, I mean, that would be good too. But.
Yeah. Just a 4-year winning streak, get all the best recruits, go win a world war, come back and win at football more. Yeah, Frank did a lot of things. Yeah, Frank accomplished a lot.
Oh, that's one thing. One last thing I'm going to mention, John. Why is it that Michigan always claims 1948 when we were undefeated?
You know what?
Lost a game.
I don't know a lot of that. I have an issue with Alabama too. They claim a lot of those titles that if you go in certain books, Notre Dame has on the books. I don't know what it was. Was it like UCF where you just get to call yourself a champion and throw a party? I don't get it either.
Oh my God.
I don't get it either.
there was a year where I think it was Minnesota won a title. It was like 1941 or something. I can't remember, but Alabama was like 9-4, and they claimed like a title. Like,
Yeah,
and they weren't even
yeah.
number one in the conference.
I don't know how that
Crazy.
worked, but there's a big Alabama has a bunch that we would dispute too. I don't know what the deal is with that. So, but it's going to be interesting in this modern playoff era. Notre Dame's going to have more rolls at the dice to get in, but once you're in, you got to play good ball. It's a war of attrition. It's going to be fun.
So it's the 12-team playoff. So that's going to be played on campus? Is that correct? I don't really know the full thing.
I believe that first round is, and then it'll move into those more like set bowl dynamics, I believe. So I think you have your bye or whatever for those. Then you get a round at home, and then I think it moves to the bowl scenes.
Why can't they just play in campus? Like, you know how, in the NBA, like playoffs, like they always play that stadium. Like, I would rather, honestly, where we just face Alabama at home, and then like if we take an L, their place, I wish we could do something like that, but it wouldn't work like that. Best out of 3 or something.
Well, the other issue is, think about it though. The other issue is, and I like this, but the powers that be probably don't. I like the idea that you could have a Notre Dame home game the week of Christmas. It is going to be cold. And I'm sure they don't want some of those games as they move along in like the frozen tundra. So that's probably why they have those set up places. But it would be a big advantage for Notre Dame to host a playoff game the week of December in South Bend. I like that. Cold the better, baby.
Alabama went one play cold.
Yep. Nope. The colder the better. I want them guys with a barrel of garbage on fire, heating their hands on the sideline. I want them miserable. I want that full neck thing got the USC guys wear under when they come to our place. Keep your neck warm from the 60-degree weather. I want them miserable.
Just, pull a Joe Montana, just have like some chicken noodle soup and just call it a day.
There you go, man. I want them guys cold and miserable. I want their mindset to be miserable on the plane. Oh, we got to go to Indiana. It's going to be cold. I want all of that to warp their brains. And when you get hit, it hurts a little more when your body's frozen, cold, and not loose. I want those guys losing in their minds before they even get here.
I just want football to be like gritty again too. Like, I just feel like it's so like cut and dry. I just want us to just be able to just go in there and just like freaking like lay someone out. But you can't do that. If you look at the ref wrong, you're just gonna get a penalty. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the times have changed, my friend. But there's still a place for some physicality here, and I'm excited for it. And I don't know, man. I think this is a big year. We got to get some things figured out this year and get this thing on a stable track, moving upward in the right direction. This is a big year for that, man.
When does the game start? The first game against Navy. What time is that going to be on?
I have been told. I remember like in 2012 when we played Navy in Dublin. I remember it being 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. Oh
my God.
My time.
I'll be watching.
But I was told that this might not be that. I was told that this might be a night game over there. So it would be like an afternoon game here, night game there instead of the morning, but I don't know that for sure. I don't know.
I like that we're playing in Ireland, but another part of me is just like, can we just get it over with? I don't like playing Navy. I just want it to be done over with. I don't like to like dramatize it. Like, I'm sorry, last year where they were doing all that bullshit, excuse my French, but they were just like throwing, the football, and I'm just like, oh no, they almost won.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's kind of wild, but we need to settle things down this year. We need to settle things down, win the games you should win. You have more talent. Then the offense gets better as you go along. Win a couple of these big games. That's the path. Then we're all trending up, heading into the new playoff era. Everybody's excited. The recruiting picks up there. I just built the roadmap. Beautiful.
Right. I mean, I'm not really worried about recruiting. If we win the title, I mean, recruiting will help itself. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Like, I used to be all caught up with recruiting and last year or this past recruiting cycle where we were trying to get like top 5, we didn't even get close to that. You know, that's because of, you know, the players, you know, that we missed out on. Dante Moore. I mean, he even wanted to come, but his dad didn't want him to come.
It's rough. That's the number. It's going to be the number one issue facing Freeman in recruiting elitely is we're not all playing by the same rules. It's a big challenge. Freeman's going to do all he can within our guidelines. We're not all playing by the same rules, and that's an issue. So you got to find a way to overcome that, be more competitive with NIL or whatever.
I think Freeman's doing as good of a job as you can because, like, I try to, like, picture myself in that same situation. For me, I'm just like, got to help me, school. I mean, the administration just needs the help. I mean, they're not doing anything. I mean, look at Lou Holtz when he was there. I mean, like, he had no favors. Like, they literally just didn't want to bring in anyone. They just wanted, you know, all of us. They wanted to bring in a bunch of you, John, and just be like.
I say that all the time. I joke about it all the time, man. You know who you can't win with? A bunch of guys that look like me that are good at books. That's what you can't win with, all right? Like, I have certain gifts in my life, and running out there for the Irish, just like Rudy, it ain't one of them, okay?
Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for the call. Thanks for catching up. This was a really good call. Thank you, man. Have a good weekend. Hey, tomorrow night we're going live. Call then too if you want.
Okay.
Have a good one. See ya. Oh, man. Adam, I got you next. I don't even know what this means. Johnny eats cake by the pool all day, bro. I don't even know what that means. I'm like the skinniest person around. What is that, a fat joke? Like, I'm a skeleton. All I do is worry about stuff. What do you mean? I eat cake by the pool. I'm skinny as could be. Adam, what's going on, Adam?
What's up, John?
Yeah, that's right. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on? Hey, I've been in and out a little bit, but I'm sorry if you already covered this, but I think the reason that your people are saying they're getting ready to maybe join the Big Ten is because of that grant of rights dealership deal with the ACC. And I think some of these schools' attorneys think if 8 schools break off from the ACC, that goes away. That buyout goes away. And I think that's a legal argument. So I think Notre Dame's just getting ready in case that happens, because I don't know if you saw some of the headlines where there are already 7 ACC schools like talking about breaking off.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see that.
So I think they only need one more. If they got one more, and I heard, I don't know, some other shows talking about maybe if Louisville joined, then they would have the 8. So if that happens, then it's all the other sports need somewhere to go.
Yeah.
For Notre Dame.
See, man, it's just complicated. But I've been told that they're all putting together a bunch of contingency plans. So if this happens, they can do this and this. And if this happens, they can do this and this. So I've just been told it's a lot realer than I realized. So I don't know, man.
And I know this probably isn't a popular opinion, but I understand all the history and the reasons why we're not in the Big Ten, and they blocked us. And we kind of just threw the middle finger at them, said, we don't need you. We can make our own money. I understand all that. But my issue is I feel like Notre Dame's they're always holding on to old ideas, which holds them back in the long run. Instead of being like ahead of the game, more modern right away. It's like, how long did it take us to get a Jumbotron and music in the stadium? And like just little things. I mean, we're still behind on a football building, all that stuff. Independence is great. I would love for us to do it. But at what point do you just say, you know something? We can make more money just joining. And we would get all our old rivalries back. SC's there now. I mean, I just don't think it's as bad of an idea as most traditionalists would believe.
All right. You know what would make people feel a lot better about this, man? Like when you're looking at the money, like obviously for us, winning is more important than Notre Dame just having a lot of money. But ideally they would coincide. But I think a lot of people would feel better about this if they said, if Notre Dame joined the Big Ten and had $90 million a year coming in for TV, no matter what, we promise you, you're getting a new football building. You're going to be able to recruit differently. You're going to be able to blow up NIL. Like, we're building you new facilities and new this and that. And if people felt like they knew all that money was going to the football stuff, I think people would be a lot more open to it. But I don't think people think that about Notre Dame. You might end up with a new band building or something.
Yeah, I totally agree, John. Like, if they came out and said, so we're going to join the Big Ten financially, this helps the university so much. 1 year is going to pay for our new football building. Now, if they said that, would you be okay with it?
Yeah, it's something you listen, man. The Big Ten deal now, it's a pretty good deal for Notre Dame. It's just a matter of breaking up with independence. But the schedules would be awesome. The rivalries would be awesome. The money would be great. Access to the playoff would be great. It's just, are people willing to break up with independence? It hurts. It hurts me.
I feel like independence, as much as we all love it, and that's what we're based on, I feel like the publicity, the college football, just the media and everything, they almost like block us out, ignore us, like we're not even there either. Don't you feel like that a lot of times? Like, they don't even want to talk to you because you're independent. You're on your own. And NBC does a horrible job of promoting college football.
Yeah.
So you're never on any of these shows or any of the media.
Yep. Nope, you're right, man. There are a lot of times, if you watch like ESPN Game Day Final, bro, you got to wait an hour to get to Notre Dame. They show 2 plays and it's over. We don't get no run. We get no run.
Hey, John. And what was the 1 year that they talked about Notre Dame and they pumped up our games left and right? The 1 year was the COVID year because we were playing in the ACC.
Yeah, that does make sense too. Yeah, lines up with the TV stuff. Yeah, and all that. That's a good point. Makes sense.
No, don't get me wrong that I'm like pro Jordan. Like, I would be fine either way. That's how I am. If we can make close to the same money, stay independent, keep our traditions in line, that's fine. I'm good with it. But if we join the Big Ten and said, something, we have a lot of natural rivalries here, we're going to make more money. It's easier for our other sports to get to their games. They can get on buses for most of the games.
And that all matters.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, all of that has to be taken into consideration, not just the football stuff. Yeah, it's a good point.
I would be fine with it. I just want us not to hold on to old ideas.
Yeah.
So I just feel like even your NIL thing today, you said it 3 years ago. You're saying it took 3 years to get an idea together, which a guy in a basement had 3 years ago, and you're finally doing it. Why are we that far behind?
Yeah, I know. Well, they would say, we didn't want to rush into this. We wanted to see how it was going to play out. We didn't want to get out of our skis and then run into a problem. They wanted to sit and kind of see the dynamic play out elsewhere, I think, to get an idea of their comfort level with how this would look. But that does put you a couple years behind the trend then.
Yeah. I mean, but look at the games if we join the Big Ten, though. You're going to be playing SC every year.
Every damn week. Every damn week is pretty much a rivalry game.
Purdue.
And you know what the funniest is? Adam, here's the funniest one. One of the games in the Big Ten that is going to excite people the least would be Notre Dame at U of I. And you and I are going to love it because we'll go to the game because we'll just head south. Like, that'd be an easy one for me to get to. And Northwestern, too.
To Illinois. You can drive to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You can drive to Purdue, IU,
Yeah.
All those games. I mean, and you still have coast to coast. You're still going to travel out to New York.
And you got LA.
Go out to LA.
Yep. You would be able to accomplish a lot.
And you could still keep a non-conference SEC game. Like next year, our first game, we play at Texas A&M. You can keep that game. I mean, I just think there's a lot of I just don't want us to be narrow-minded and just be like, independence, that's it. Maybe it's a win-win. Maybe it is.
Yeah, it's just very, very hard because where is that line of like maintaining your tradition and all that versus doing it is preventing you from new progress? That's a very, very tough thing to debate and fall on the right side of. And I don't have all the answers, but I admit it's a tough debate.
Yeah, it's someone like my dad. My dad said absolutely not a year ago. Now he's like, okay, maybe it would be a good idea.
Yeah, it's just like rough. That's a tough calibration to make. It's a tough calibration to make.
I don't know. Part of me just thinks that holding on to this independence. But think about like in early 1990s, late 80s, how many schools were independent? We were playing who were we playing? Florida State was independent, Miami,
Penn State. Yeah, Penn
State. Pitt. So that was like half our schedule. Like we're the only ones left. And a lot of it has to do because financially we can do it. But at what point does Notre Dame making $50 million and every school in the SEC and Big Ten making $85?
Yep.
At what point does that affect?
Yep. It compounds you. It compounds. You're 40 million behind 1 year, then it's 80. Then by 3 years, you're 120 million behind. That is, you're dead. You can't do it.
I mean, John, when we were little kids, we were young. They got their TV contract.
Adam, wait.
All these
how do you
had
respond to this? Somebody's saying this caller sounds like he wants Notre Dame to die. See, this is the pushback you're going to get, Adam, when you go this route. They think you want Notre Dame to die, man. You want him to win, and we want to win our way. But is it possible anymore? I don't know.
No, they won't die. Maybe staying independent and making half the money will cause them to die.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the opposite. I'm not saying this is 100%.
But then you can claim on you. But what good is it to claim we're still independent, but you haven't won in 50 years? Like, good for you.
Yeah, we're making half the money. So what's good that?
Right. You're not winning and you're making half the money. Like you could argue that if you're not going to win at all, at least make more of the money. You can't do both bad, have half the money and not win anything. I don't know, man. It's.
I got news for you. It doesn't look like Ohio State's dying. It doesn't look like Michigan's dying. It doesn't look like Texas is dying. Teams and conferences, they sure ain't dying.
Yeah. Yeah,
they should have plenty of money.
Yeah, it's a tough debate,
though, John, that you have to do it. I just think we need to be a little more open-minded to maybe this is the right way to go, and maybe it's not.
Yeah.
It's. I don't think it should be an absolute no.
Yeah, but dude, if the worst scenario is we make way more money and have an awesome schedule every year, that's a pretty good soft way to have to give up your independence is if you're going into that dynamic where you're making a ton of money and you have a rivalry game almost every week. Like that is a pretty good plan B. I just hope everybody can admit that. That's a good plan B.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, I would just ask everyone to keep an open mind to it. And maybe it's the best option. We keep all our rivalry games. We played an SEC school in Navy in the non-conference.
Yeah.
Play SEC, try to make a Big Ten championship, play in Indianapolis. I mean, it's not the worst thing. You still can play a national schedule.
Yeah, it would just feel different. It would just feel different, but it's a tough discussion. And Adam, maybe things happen that takes the decision away from Notre Dame. Like if certain things line up a certain way, they could get up there and say, if you, the fans, want Notre Dame to be in a championship hunt, we have to do this, to do that. We don't love it. We like our history and all that. They might get up there and say the decision's pretty much made for us by the landscape throughout the rest of the country. And then there ain't really a decision to make.
Now, would the Big Ten ever do a deal like the ACC did? Let all your other your sports in, but not football? I don't think they would.
I don't think so
either.
They would say,
no, you need to.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So I don't know, man. But it's certainly something to watch. And depending on what happens, this may need to happen no matter what. I don't know when, but it's wild times, man. The times are changing.
Here's what I would like to throw out to the fans, to all of our fans. I've been a season ticket holder almost my whole life. I go to every game. What would you rather have in Notre Dame Stadium mid-season? Would you rather be playing some bullcrap SEC, playing Virginia on October 1st, or would you rather be playing Michigan State? Or would you rather be playing NC State, or would you rather play Penn State? Or you go out to UCLA, see the Rose Bowl. I mean, the ACC schedule, half the schedule that Notre Dame plays is boring. It really is.
Yeah, it is. Well, most of the ACC thing is boring. If it isn't, pretty much who? Miami, Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, and then everything else is boring pretty much, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. And the times we've played Florida State lately, they've been terrible. They're on their way up now. But
yeah,
if you played, if Clemson and Miami and Florida State were top notch right now, then it wouldn't be boring.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. And then Adam, tomorrow night, we're going live again. I don't know what you're doing, but call me again then.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you.
All right. Have a good Friday. See you, man. Later. All right. What do we have here? I feel like if we joined a conference, the national, this is the ultimate irony. Check this out. I feel like if we joined a conference, the national perception would be, yes, you guys failed and couldn't be relevant as an independent. And it would be like almost admitting defeat. Here's the funniest thing about this is every message I get from every other fan base in America is saying, who do you think you are? It'd be good for everybody. Join the Big Ten. Join a conference, play by the same structure everybody else. I hear that all the time. And it's framed as like it'd be a win for everybody. Go ahead and do that. And then the second Notre Dame did, all of those same people would tweet at me, you guys are losers. This proves you couldn't do it your way and you have to go the easy way out. Like, I know damn well how this goes against Notre Dame. People will play any card available to go against Notre Dame. You should join. We want it to be fair for everybody to have equal whatever. Join. Once we do, Katie, that's what it's going to turn into is join. Oh, you guys couldn't do it your way. Now you had to join. What a bunch of losers admitting defeat. You're never going to be able to win with these people until you beat them. Eric Ward. John, why do you want that art of a schedule? A part of this consideration is not just the schedule. I like the idea of having $90 million a year for the football program every year instead of half that. And then you're dead and you can't compete. It isn't just the schedule. All of the other stuff also has to be competitive enough. And that money is number one. I mean, you just can't compete. If it's 2 years and you're $100 million behind another team, you're dead. Your program's dead. You can't compete when you compile those years of how far behind you are in that revenue. You're dead. 5 years and it's like you can't be behind that much. So a part of this is schedule and competitiveness. Part of it is that number keeping us in the mix. All right. I got a few more calls. You guys, I got something to do, and I got to hit the door. One of them, 224, you know who you are. You know how I feel about your calls. If you're available tomorrow night, I'd love to do it. But you know who I'm talking to, 224. Can't do it now, but if you're around tomorrow night, I'll give you the time that your call deserves, okay? Thanks, everybody, for being here. All the donations, all the chats. I'll put something else out tonight. And then tomorrow night, we're doing the Saturday Night Live. So we're going to do it. Be there, be square. Have a good Friday, everybody. Hopefully see you tomorrow night.